Hello, my name is Ben and welcome back to FPL Graduates and welcome back to another video on the channel where we're going to be discussing our transfer targets for game week 12. Now, as you can see, I'm not joined today by Josh. He is currently away on holiday, and with the quick turnaround between game week 11 and game week 12, it just wasn't possible to get him on. But got myself here, and hopefully we can get through some transfer targets and get you thinking about who to bring in for this game week. Okay, so we're going to start it off with a very interesting player indeed. It's Timothy Castagne of Leicester City. Now, we've seen over recent weeks, especially against Palace, Leicester looked a lot more defensively solid, and they looked a little bit better defensively, and Castagne is one of the most offensive fullbacks in the league at the best of times. I remember at points over the last couple of seasons, we had more touches inside the box than a lot of the forwards in the game. So it's definitely worth considering him. With 3 clean sheets this season in 9 starts, that isn't the worst, with 1 goal involvement so far, and he's sort of underperforming that expected goal involvement. So I expect him to get forward a bit more and get a lot of opportunities. As you can see, over the next sort of 5 game weeks, you've got Leeds United at home, which is definitely a fixture which I think Castagne can return in. Wolves away, which, you know, Wolves don't really look like scoring at the moment, so we could see a clean sheet there. And then followed by Everton away and West Ham away, which both also have some sort of attacking potential for Castagne. So I definitely think he's worth one considering. Next up, I've been banging on about this guy since I brought him in the wild card, Mohamed Salah of Liverpool. It was only a matter of time, really. The fixtures breed the form, really. And we're seeing some really good fixtures. And we're hoping that Mohamed Salah can start to bring together some more consistent form to this Liverpool team. As we've seen over the last couple of game weeks, especially last game week against Manchester City and against Rangers, Jurgen Klopp deployed Salah in a much more central position compared to what he's been way out wide at points this season. And he's picking up returns from there. To get a return against Manchester City is great, and he could have had 2 or 3 goals in that fixture. And a 6-minute hat-trick against Rangers as well in the Champions League before that. I expect his ownership to be much higher than the 30% that it's at now, because he's the only, other than Harry Kane, he is the only real obvious premium player that you're going to want to own in this game week. West Ham at home is not the worst fixture. It's not the best fixture either, but then they have a run of some really nice fixtures. Nottingham Forest, Leeds and Southampton within their next 5 fixtures. I do think Salah is a great differential at this point to own in the game. And I do think as well, if you want to risk it, considering sort of Liverpool defenders as well might be a great shout. We've seen Joe Gomez at 4.5 million. He seems to be providing good value at the moment if he can nail down that right back spot. And if Trent Alexander-Arnold, you know, his cameo against Manchester City was on the right side of midfield, we could see an out of position defender in the game once again. Next up, we have got Dominic Solanke. Now, in my head, I'm going to be a bit pessimistic about this one. I can't lie. I don't know whether I think the boat has sailed. I think it might have done. If you're looking to bring him in, I think Southampton at home for a 1-week punt is good. Then I'd expect you to potentially bench him over the next 2 game weeks before bringing him back into the starting 11 game week 15 and 16. It's a tough one, really, because he's such good value at 5.8 million. He can be a really good attacking enabler to allow you to invest and load up on £8 million midfielders, because it seems like this season, those midfielder slots are really, really important. And putting in Solanke at 5.8 million could be a really good shout. Now, over the last couple of game weeks, he's produced a lot of returns, 2 goals and 4 assists in 8 starts this season, and a lot of them coming in within the last couple of game weeks. But he is massively overperforming his stats. He's barely produced 1 XG this season, and he's crazily overperforming right now. Do I anticipate him keeping up these goals and assist returns? Yes, but not to the extent that we've seen the last couple of game weeks. We've seen him get a couple of returns each game. I don't anticipate seeing that again. I think his stats will sort of level out a little bit. But yeah, I don't think he's a bad option. I think he's one you've got to be wary of, because if you're in a position where you need to bring Solanke in and he's going to be playing every week, I'd probably steer clear of that. To have him as a budget enabler to bring in on certain game weeks is definitely a good move with Solanke.
So our fifth and final player this week on transfer targets in the midweek game week is going to be Callum Wilson. Obviously, the only man really up front for Newcastle at the minute. Him and Chris Wood leading the line with no Isaac. He's been confirmed out for quite a while, I do believe. So Wilson's played 6 games this season, got 3 goals, 1 assist. I think one thing that you can guarantee with Callum Wilson that he's shown throughout his whole time in the Premier League is that if he plays, he will score goals. And I think these fixtures coming up for Newcastle before the World Cup are very good fixtures. You know, game week 12, he's got Everton at home, Tottenham away, not the easiest, but it wouldn't shock me if Newcastle go there and get a result. And then Aston Villa at home. Do they have a manager? Do they not have a manager? Who knows by game week 14? And then Southampton away is a good fixture. Chelsea at home, you can maybe look to offload him for a 1-week punt going into that final game week before we get unlimited transfers. So yeah, a very good option. Obviously, you can move him in and out if he gets injured. Obviously, he's quite injury prone, but you can get Tony, Bamford, Solanke, Mitrovic, so many options at that price or below. So that's not too much of an issue either. Really low owned, 2.6%, massive differential if he goes off against Everton at home. Newcastle, I think their last 2 games at home have scored nearly 10 goals, which is really, really good for them. So yeah, it looks like a really good option, and it's a good way to get into that Newcastle attack. Obviously, all of us have that Newcastle defence with Trippier or Pope. So this is a nice little differential outside of that. Okay, so that wraps up our game week 12 transfer targets. Let us know what you're doing in the comments down below, and if you're free hitting, taking hits, all that sort of stuff. All of our teams will be revealed over on Instagram, so make sure you go follow us over there. And obviously, you can sign up to the Patreon to get early access and team reviews from us personally. The link is in the bio. But that is all. So I've been Josh. I guess Ben has said I've been Ben, and we'll see you later. Have a good game week, everyone.